everybody, and welcome to Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. Sam and I are happy to again have joining us AD, Athletic Director at CHS. Brent is with us, Brent Duncan.
My pleasure to be back.
We're always glad to have you.
It's a good time with you two.
You do a good job because you know what's going on.
I hope I do.
A couple of tough losses for the Spartans last Saturday, the girls at Lawrenceburg and the boys at Pendleton.
Yeah, it was a long day of basketball, but I thought the girls played really well. Just had a couple of possessions as the game went along that just didn't go our way, and ended up losing to a really good, pretty good Lawrenceburg team. I think they're 9-1 or 10-1 now. So
They're in the top of the conference, aren't they, Sam?
Pretty close to the top. Yeah, I haven't
think so
lately, but
That's
I
one of
think
the better
maybe
records of the
Greensburg
girls.
and them are at the top of the conference.
yeah, and Rushville beat Greensburg by like 30 the other day. So
Is that right?
we'll see what the Lady Lions have coming up as the season rolls along.
It's a tough conference.
Right now, the girls have been solid in top to bottom in
East
the
Central's
conference.
good. Franklin County is always good.
East Central have 4 or 5 girls over 6 foot tall. You know, that's bigger than most girls we have. So it's got a good little conference right now.
What was the story of the game, Sam? Did we have a lead, or did they jump off to a big lead?
Well, they jumped off early on. It was kind of back and forth, but they had a 7-point lead at halftime, and it ended up a 7-point game. So
Right.
we played them even the second half, cut down on the turnovers, and I think what I saw, the girls seemed excited to be there and act like they really wanted it. They just got beat by a good team.
56-49 was the final. Did Michael sub a lot, or did he go as a
Pretty much his starting unit, and you know, he'll bring a couple girls in. He started Tori the other day, and I think she earned that from Tuesday night because she played well at Newcastle last Tuesday night. And,
She's the one
in
senior.
a disappointing loss.
Only senior on the team. Good deal.
Yeah, I thought we just had a bad end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, and from that point on, we played pretty even with them. We just kind of had a rough end at the first and a rough start to the second, and then it was just kind of back and forth, kind of stayed in the same. Get it down to 4, get it back to 7, go to 9, back to 5. So
Sure.
And it's, of course, all teams have to do this, but getting up, and they had to get up a little earlier and to get down there for the matinee, and with the weather and all, it snowed in Lawrenceburg, snowed all the way to Pendleton afterward.
Well, if you remember, 2 years ago we played them at night down there, and I thought we were on the same page, and they thought we were going back to the afternoon game. So since it was their home game, we went to the afternoon game. But I thought we were going to play down there at night, and the boys at Pendleton tonight. Not good for you guys, but
No, not good for the fans.
but no, but
That's right. Brent is a former coach. Do you credit the home court with a couple of 3 points advantage?
You would like to think it would be a little bit, just because you're used to the surroundings and the familiarities of the gym. So.
And not having to travel?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a plus, and then depends on if you played on the night before, if you get to stay home a little bit longer. So those all add up to things. So obviously you can tell for us it's a big home court advantage to be in the Spartan Bowl just because the atmosphere. But
Yes.
you know, and it's different shooting in an arena-type gym compared to just a regular gym where the background's a little bit different. So there are little nuances to every court that's to the home team's advantage. So I'd say a little bit, yeah.
I had offended a coach one time by saying that at his place that you step off the bus and you're 10 points down. He didn't. Next time he didn't want to talk to me. But I said, you know, that's pretty much the way it is.
I would think it would be a definite advantage to the kids playing at home. I mean, it just because that's where they play half or more than half their games. And everything.
Well, I think it's that and the atmosphere and the home kids are there and you're familiar with all the surroundings. And you know, not only the court makes a difference, sometimes who the coach on the other team makes a difference. You know, as an old coach myself, there were certain guys we thought we had a 10-point advantage just who was coaching on the other end of the bench. So you knew if they were up or behind, they were going to keep shooting the ball, so you knew you were never out of the game. So sometimes it's just a matter of who you're coached against too, and what you feel like you have an advantage a little bit on. Kids still have to execute. So.
Yes. At night at Pendleton Heights, we went, and
It was a different kind of a game.
I was going to say Pendleton Heights was allowing 64 points a game in their first games of the season, and like you say, it was an entirely different game.
It was.
A few shots.
Back and forth early on. We built a 5-point lead in the fourth quarter. Only had free throws in the second half. No field goals made, but kept us right in the game. But a turnover here or there hurt us, and
Yes.
Pendleton able to
Toward the end, a couple
tie the
of
game,
turnovers.
and then it went into overtime, and they out-jumped us on the tip. Of course, in overtime, you start with the tip at the beginning of the game, and
Right.
each overtime has one. And they were able to control the tip, and they ran the clock down.
Or held the ball.
They ran the clock down past 0 and shot, and it counted.
Really, I didn't realize that the clock had already expired, as they say.
According to video,
According to the video, it
and
did.
of course there's no way you can go back and change it, but obviously from video that's out there, the ball was still in the shooter's hands, feet were still on the floor, red light on the backboard was definitely gone off at the time it expired. And
Well, that's the officials called.
officials called it good, and you'd like to think maybe they would have stopped to discuss amongst themselves a little bit whether they all thought it was good. And then, but they didn't, and then shouldn't have been in that spot anyway. We kind of put ourselves there, but there's all the little things that happened along the other 32 minutes that could have changed the outcome here or there, no matter what. But we were in that situation. You just hate to see it go down on a little bit of what I
Yes.
think is a bad call
Yes.
from the officiating side, but that's high school sports.
So Kerry decided to slow the ball, the game down.
Well, I don't even want to say that.
Well,
It's just the
okay.
kind of game it was.
A defensive battle, was it?
Defensive battle.
A lot of time
And,
expired between shots.
Our shooting percentage, even though we were 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 in the second half, we still, I believe, according to my what I recall, shot 56% in the game. Their shooting percentage was not good at all. I thought, let that kid take it from, and he was way out there when he hit that 3 after the horn, but I'd have let him stand out there and take him because they were missing him. They just, I didn't think they played well.
No, and I think we caused some of that for kids with teams with our defensive efforts, and there wasn't just any easy shots for them unless they were launching them from out wide. Hardly ever. I think I talked to Coach Brown this morning, and he felt like out of the whole game there was only 6 possessions defensively. They had some errors in it that didn't help us, but not guarding the kid in the right manner. He has a scouting report on all the kids.
Yes.
Some you can close out all the way, and some you don't have to close out all the way, and you got to fight the post a little bit. But he felt overall there was really just 6 defensive breakdowns through the whole game. So Pendleton had to work a little bit hard to get some shots. So
Did they double team our best shooters, or what kept them from shooting more?
It's we were being very deliberate in the second half.
Okay.
I would say that we were looking for. We had the lead, and we were looking for layups and free throws. And a lot of times the layups weren't there. We did get to the line. We did penetrate and get to the line, but and we're able to hit some free throws. But it just, I don't know. It was an unusual game.
Right. Were they playing
It's
a zone?
always tough. Always tough for us to go to Pendleton. I
Right.
don't know why.
Were they playing a zone or
Yeah,
most of the
yeah,
time?
yeah.
Okay.
Of course, we play man, and it was working for us.
it's just physical. That's been that way forever. So
And Pendleton's a nice team. They have some nice players. And
Yes. Yes. Well, a tough game to lose, and I'm sure the Spartans will be working toward a couple of victories this weekend.
Well, I'm sure that if we have an opportunity to play them again at the Tiernan Center come March, that it could be a different game.
Of course, we've had some success over Pendleton, and we beat them twice last year, once in the sectional and during the season.
yeah, but if you look back to the history, it's not been positive on our side of the ledger very
Yes.
often. So dating back to Matt Howard's days, but they've had some good players go through there as well. So
Yeah.
McDermott and
Yeah.
Duggan, who went to Wright State, and Nick Rogers, who played in college at 6'8", and so they've had some kids. that have
D1
gone through
players.
there. So
So 33-30 was the final in overtime.
Exciting ball game. But,
Yes.
Didn't turn out. The week before we win one
That's
at
right.
the buzzer ourselves.
We won
so,
that way, right, on the buzzer beater, yeah.
Last year, what did we have? 7 overtime games, state record, and
Yeah, I went back
won
and
them
looked.
all. So
We'd won 10 consecutive over the last 10 games we'd won in overtime games. So I guess 11th wasn't to be our side this time.
One of our overtime wins over Pendleton last year, or was it?
I believe
in the
Pendleton
second?
was one of them.
Okay.
versus Mount Vernon
Twice.
twice and in multiple overtimes with
Yeah.
them.
The night before, Pendleton defeated Mount Vernon.
And Mount Vernon had come in there undefeated
Yes.
as well. And I think that's their proximity. They're only about 15 miles apart, I think, and
Yeah, not very far.
not very far. I think that's probably a pretty good rivalry.
Yes. Right. We might talk about what's happening this week at CHS. The boys' freshman basketball team is playing at Franklin County. On Tuesday, the co-ed swimming will be with Newcastle at the CHS pool. That is a 5:30 start. The girls' basketball, JV, and varsity will be at Muncie Central. The games at 6 and 7:30. On Thursday, the boys' freshman basketball team will be at East Central with a 6 o'clock tip-off. On Friday, the girls and boys' basketball games, JV and varsity, at South Dearborn. That's at Aurora, and the game times will be at 6 and 7:30. There's the diving invitational at CHS at 6 o'clock at the pool at Connors Hill. Saturday, the swimming invitational begins at 10:30 in the morning. And this week at the middle school, today the 7th grade red and white teams are at Rushville. The 8th grade red and white teams are playing Rushville at Spartan Arena. On Tuesday, it'll be the 7th and 8th grade red teams at Richmond Dennis. That'll be a 5:30 start. And the 7th and 8th grade white teams play Rushville's St. Mary's at Spartan Arena at 5:30. On Thursday, the boys' red teams are at home to Richmond Julia Test, and that has a 5 o'clock start. Our freshman team's doing pretty well, aren't they, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously playing about 2 of the kids they played last year because they're up on the JV, so they're learning different
Yes.
things. But they've had some really good 12 ball games. They lost to Pendleton by 7 on Friday, but I think they're like 3-2 or 2-2, but they're right in
Yes.
it. They've all been close games. So
Yeah.
got a new coach this year, so Coach Smith's learning the ropes himself of how to call the game, and he's doing a good job. And he's
Yeah,
obviously
Cody is,
focusing on
right.
defense because that's obviously Carrie's taste for the younger kids to learn how to play the defensive end. He'll take care of the offense as they grow older, define their roles. So, but Cody's done a good job so far.
He may lose some of his kids to the JV team before the season's over.
Well, you never know. The JV kids should be pretty good. You know, they
Yes.
were 21
Yes,
and
they
2
are.
last year as freshmen.
Chris
so
has them playing well.
it's kind of nice to have enough kids in every class right now that
Sure.
you're comfortable having to bump the younger kids up all the time. So.
Good deal, good deal. This week, the Spartans, South Dearborn on Friday night at South Dearborn at Aurora, and then home to Richmond. So a couple of good games coming up here.
Well, back in the conference, you know, that's
Right.
Carrie's goal during the season is prepare yourself for the sectional, but take care of your conference as you go along. And it is a boy-girl doubleheader this Friday at South Dearborn. JV girls will play in the middle school gym starting at, the JV boys will play in the middle school gym starting at 6. And the varsity girls will be in the high school gym starting at 6, and they're just side by side to each other, so you don't have to walk very far.
Good deal.
It is outside. You do have to go outside to change gyms. And then as soon as those games are over, we'll switch and put the JV girls in the middle school gym, and the varsity boys will play at the nights in the high school gym. So
That'll be the first of 3 doubleheaders, right, this year? I think
we have
on,
them, and then we have 19th with Greenfield at our place.
Right.
And then January 9th is kind of a mixed doubleheader with the boys playing Muncie Central and the girls playing Guerin Catholic. So.
Speaking of Muncie Central, change of venue tomorrow night for the girls.
Yeah, the girls are at Muncie South High School, which is there on Madison Street.
South side.
South side,
Yeah.
29th and Macedonia.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Their gym is
Yeah, the field house
damaged,
is
wasn't it?
under construction again, I think, but
had a hole in the roof and a lot of rain damage.
storm damage. So
And I hope that they are able to get it fixed. It'd be a shame for that one to go by the wayside like the Wigwam has.
yeah, if you haven't been there, it's a unique venue. I know last year they had some of the bleachers almost like under wraps. I don't know if they were working them on or not, but they were covered. So hopefully they can get it repaired. I did hear they had insurance on it, so that's a positive for
Yes.
them. Hopefully they'll fix it. So.
Well, the other thing I heard, though, was like a $50,000 deductible,
Yeah, I don't know. So.
Muncie School Corporation's hurting for money.
Yeah, you hope they don't just take the insurance for school purposes. You'd hate to see a gym like that go away with
Absolutely.
7 state
Historic.
titles in there and
Yes.
with their teams. And so
We had a swimming meet with Centerville last week.
it was a wet one. It was good. The kids had pink out night between them and Centerville. They raised $4,000
Isn't that something?
The Cancer Society and sold all kinds of T-shirts. There was a lot of pink in the gym that night. But that's something that Centerville and us have been doing probably the last 3 years. And I think, as Amy Kiefaber told me, that in the last 3 years, they've raised about $10,000 between the 2 schools to donate. So that's just outstanding by all of our coaches and our kids, and the Centerville coaches and kids as well.
Swim team's doing well. Girls are undefeated. The boys, I think, have lost 1 to Richmond.
Yeah, girls had a squeaker the night.
That's right. A couple
so,
points they won by.
Winning by 2, so
A
it's
win's
a
a
good
win, though.
Doesn't look like it. Just says won or lost. It doesn't
That's
have to
right.
say how many points.
That's right. It was an interesting night, and you were part of the post-meet show, I guess you call it. I'm
Not
not
intentionally,
sure.
but
Anyway, we're going to take a look now at what happened at the end of the swim meet with Centerville at the Spartan Auditorium last week. It's got Superintendent Scott Collins, right? This was some kind of an agreement you guys reached if they got to the $4,000 goal.
Well, I think if Peyton Kiefer ever made a deal that if he sold over 100 shirts, that Superintendent Collins would go into
Grady
that.
Tate.
And I'm the only dumb one here a little bit that tries to run off the diving board. It doesn't work real well.
That's Daryl Drew, Connersville's head coach, swimming.
It's assistant coach Leah Fishman.
Uh-huh.
Well, she did better than the guy. She got some bounce on the board there.
You have to watch David. David's still young enough to do it.
Yeah, this is a diving coach, David
He
Goins.
should have gone last. That's a guarantee.
That was pretty good.
Yes.
I wasn't prepared, as you
Here's
can
the
see.
boss
They were
right
already.
Yeah, you were kind
And
of.
I thought you could run on that diving board, but it doesn't work real well. That's why they walk out there to do those dives. So, as you can see, it's a little slippery on the end.
That's good. Oh, here we are.
I get
Slow-mo.
replayed.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's too good to just show one time.
It's all good, though. It's a good cause.
Yeah, it was. That was a super night, and everybody enjoyed it. I think they really did. It's a great event to have. So next year it'll be at Centerville.
It'll be at Centerville, and it will be the same thing. So, I probably won't drive up there though.
You were. They had to coax you the other night. I thought you were sort of.
I wasn't in the script
over in
to
the
start
end,
with.
sort of surrounded by people, but the kids found him and kept chanting.
So were you wet
his
going
name.
home since you hadn't planned on that?
Well, thank goodness Coach Brown had given me a sweatsuit that was in my office, so I was able to at least get some dry clothes on. Otherwise, I was
Maybe
walking.
that's why the throat's a little
I was
raspy.
walking from the pool to the Waterloo lot in cold weather. I'd have been a little icy by the time I got there. So Coach McCooley got me a towel, so it was good though.
We'll go back to basketball for a minute here and talk about how the area girls teams are doing. Richmond is 6-3. They lost to Franklin County in their last ball game. They're home Saturday to Indianapolis Tech. Union County is even at 5-5. They won over Hagerstown. They're home to Tri Wednesday. Rushville is 5-5. Their last game was a loss to Greensburg. Their next game is home to Greenwood on Tuesday. Cambridge City is 3-5. They've lost to Winchester. They're at Union City on Saturday. Centerville is 3-7. They won over Union City. Plays at Seton Catholic today. Franklin County is 6-4. They lost to South Ripley in their home Tuesday to Batesville. Here's how some of the area boys teams are doing. Richmond is 1-3. Their last game was a loss to Marion. They're home Friday to Indianapolis Tech and then come to Spartan Bowl on Saturday. Union County is 3-1, defeated Hagerstown. They're at Winchester Friday. They've won 3 straight games after dropping the season opener here at Spartan Bowl. Franklin County is 3-2. They lost to South Dearborn. They play Tuesday at Ross, Ohio. Rushville is 1-4. They won over Blue Valley, home to Lawrenceburg on Friday. Centerville is 2-3. Their last game was a win over Randolph Southern. They have Hagerstown they'll be at Hagerstown on Friday. And Cambridge City is 2-2. They lost to Knightstown their last game. They're home Saturday to Eastern Hancock. There's a big basketball tournament coming up called the Bob Whitting Tournament. at Richmond.
Right over Christmas break.
And it's named that, was he a manager or something at Richmond
That
for a long
I
time?
do not know. So
I think he was a behind-the-scenes guy. I don't think he was ever a coach or anything like that. But
I didn't recognize the name when it first
No.
came out. So
no, I didn't either. I think he was. Do you
I
know?
think you're
Sam?
right. I think that, as I recall, it's been a while since, but he was, an equipment manager or
Something like that.
something a long
Yes.
time, and,
Right.
and was highly thought of.
Right. The Spartans are playing in that. We might look at some of the all of the teams that are entered in the tourney. I thought we had it there to go through, but I've got it written down here. Indianapolis Addicts. Here they are, the Richmond Wedig tournament on the 28th to the 29th. Addicts is one of the teams. There are 18. Belmont, Ohio, Cathedral, the Spartans, Franklin Central, Greensburg, Indianapolis Homeschool, Indianapolis Lighthouse, Indianapolis Northwest, Park Tudor, Portage, Richmond, Shelbyville, Seton Catholic, South Bend Adams, Tinley, University Prep, Science, and Math. There's some names that are not familiar in there because they aren't IHSA schools.
there's a couple homeschools in there, so it's kind of unusual. So I think
That's coming up, and I think you play 4 games, do you? In 3 days?
typically about 4 in 2 days.
Right,
Just depends on where
right.
you fall in the brackets. So
Yeah, the Spartans will be playing, I've got it jotted down here somewhere if I can find it. They'll be playing that in Indianapolis Northwest, which is the home school.
correct. There's actually an Northwest High School, but it is not Northwest High School. So
Okay, and they're on
rumor
North.
has it they have a 6'10" kid that Ball State's looking at. So
And I think they play at 2:30 on Tuesday afternoon. And if they win that, they'll move, well, they'll win to the game at 5:30 on Wednesday, and that'll be between South Bend Adams and, trying to think the other
Is it
team.
Addicts?
Could be Addicts, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So, and then after you win on Wednesday, I'm not sure where you go. You continue on the winners and,
keep down. You got to win 4 to win it all. So
right.
We
get
won,
beat,
we
get beat
won
early, and you could get
3
out
out of
early.
4 last year and
And
finished in, what, ninth
Ninth
place?
because we're in the wrong side.
Yeah.
Got beat in the wrong time.
Was that the losers bracket that we?
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, the
Whatever.
challenger
Consolation-
bracket. Well, I don't think they call it
consolation
consolation.
bracket.
Okay,
It's the challenger bracket, or
fancy name consolation,
I
but
think those negative contents out there.
We want to be politically.
I know we had Kerry on the show a couple, 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about this tourney, and he was a little concerned that the teams that the Spartans play during the season were becoming members of the tourney.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. It was kind of nice early because none of the teams that were in there we were on schedule with. But
Other than Richmond.
the more teams you get on the schedule that are in that tournament, the less likely you want to play in it because you don't
Sure.
want to play them any more often than you have to. So
Sure.
we'll reevaluate at the end of the year, see if it's something we want to get back into next year, and we'll
And if you don't,
pick
Good.
up a couple games or find another tournament.
could we have a one-day tournament here at Spartan Bowl?
It's a little tough just because of the Classic, so
I know, but there's a couple days there that would
it just
be
depends on how
be
things
free.
work on time you set the bowl up and get the teams into practice, and you get 2 days to get it out. It all depends on when Christmas falls, and so there's always possibilities.
Christmas be on a Tuesday next year.
There's always possibilities.
There's been people in Fran's ear and my ear for years
Used to have one, didn't we?
saying, well, yeah. we
Long
used to
before
have
I got here.
New Year's Day tourney, yeah.
Yes.
And it was a dandy. Rushville, Shelbyville, Connorsville, Greensburg.
Yeah, those 4
Of course, we
teams.
probably wouldn't want that anymore since we're all in the conference.
Well, but we were then, it was all South Central
Sure.
Conference. All 4 of those teams were South Central Conference. But
I don't know.
It's a great tourney.
There's always possibilities. See what
Yeah,
where it falls.
there would be teams that you probably, I'm sure, would want to come to Connorsville and
Well, I think there would
in a
be some
one-day
out there if
tourney.
we could figure out dates, and if that's something we want to look at again. So
And we had games in the afternoon and the consolation and championship game at night.
right,
Yeah, worked out well.
oh yeah,
Worked out real well.
it's good for
and
everybody.
it would go back and forth between here and Shelbyville.
Yes, because we had the 2 biggest
Had
gyms.
the 2 big gyms.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. If we're going to hold one, we're going to
We're
hold
gonna
one.
have we're gonna have it. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. It's a yearly thing at Spartan Bowl. Yeah. Well, I know that it would be It'll be a great tournament, I know.
Just had to figure out all the logistics with the
Right,
classic.
there's a lot of things. I mean, you have to find schools that aren't in a tourney, and,
Right.
and it
Have
would be
room on their schedule.
right.
Can make it down here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that wedding tournament that we're in is an interesting one, though, because of the variety of schools from all over, from
Yeah, I
Indiana and
noticed.
Ohio
Right.
and all over the state.
I noticed that somebody pulled out just recently, so they had to get 2 different schools to cover them. So there's going to be 2 schools playing the opening round, and if they get past the first 2 days, then another school's going to come in and take wherever they're in at. So it'll be a little different.
Really?
So somebody bailed out on him at the last minute, so he was scrambling to find somebody. But you know, when you have the Classic with 32 teams coming in December 29th and 30th, and
Yeah, I
you know, all that
realize,
set up
yeah.
and ready, but not that it's not possible. You just have to find the
Sure.
right time. It's I don't know if always Tuesdays and Wednesdays are a good day in the middle of the week. I don't know how many people are on. You know, the kids are out, but how many parents are out, and you know, it's hard to do it.
And then on New Year's, when we were doing those tournaments, we had competition from college football because of the bowl
Sure.
games, and that was a little bit of a problem, but we survived and everything. But we didn't have to take that in
Didn't have as much
consideration.
media back then either. Television,
No, didn't.
access to every bowl game that's out there
That's
all the time.
right.
So,
I remember, was 68 IU played in the Rose Bowl?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ought to be
fan.
easy to remember.
It's the last time they were
Last
in the
time,
Rose Bowl.
one of the few times. And,
That was
but
8.
you're right. Back then, of course, we didn't have Channel 3, and Fran was calling those games on the radio. And
Yeah, it's things have changed and everything, but you work on that, will you?
We'll discuss it with Coach Brown and see what
What's going on at CHS? What's anything exciting coming up, sports? wise?
Gymnastics is getting ready to roll. They got a preview this Wednesday night at the gym. So that'll be different. We will actually have a girl from Union County competing alongside of us each meet. They have a girl that's going to do that, so that'll be interesting. So she'll
Yeah.
travel with the team, and she'll have her own coach, and they'll go to all the meets that we're in. So
Good.
we'll have some individuals, but that and wrestling's on a roll. They're young, and some are winning and some are losing, but Mac's got them out there learning wrestling. So
Sure.
I think in time, if he sticks around, and I think our program will turn back to where it used to be. So get some numbers out. I think we have 19 kids right now. So hopefully he'll continue to grow that, because I know him and Justin both do a good job with their
Yeah,
kids in
I
the
think it's
wrestling program. So.
Up from a year ago, I believe.
Yeah, you know, and like this is his second year, third
Yes.
year, and it's just a matter of getting him to buy into his system compared
Right.
to what everybody else. And the old system was wrong, but system changes when your coach changes. So some kids are have their allegiance to the coach and not necessarily the sport. So hopefully it'll continue to grow. We've had a couple that's been hurt and hasn't been able to wrestle this year, so they had to sit out with knee injuries or whatever. So that all adds up in the long run. So, and wrestling's one of those sports you got to have numbers. So.
Adam Kelly was our guest last week. He talked about football training is underway, preparing for.
Yeah, it isn't any of that season to
2018.
season anymore. It's for those kids, it's tough sometimes. because
Sure.
they're trying to balance their schedule between classes and sports and the activities that they're in, and trying to find time to do the activities that's their off-season sports to stay in shape for those things. So he's got the weight room going in the mornings and the afternoon, and kids who aren't involved in sports are more than welcome to go in and work out with the football team and anybody else. And, baseball goes in there and lifts, and softball's in there lifting, and wrestling's lifting, and swimmers are lifting. So Carrie's lifting, and everybody's in the weight room anymore.
about the AD, is he lifting?
I should be, but it's the fork most of the time. So. But
It is a year-round thing, isn't it? I mean, even in the summer, these youngsters are playing in tournaments and things.
yeah, it's I don't know if it's good or bad, but they're trying to curtail it a little bit. There'll be some bylaws to come up in the spring to vote on again about some more quiet time when coaches can't have contact with you during the high school season even. So we'll see where that leads in the spring when all the HSA brings their new bylaw changes they want to look at and get voted on. So it got tabled last year, so we'll see where it'll head this year when it comes around.
Thanks,
It's tough
Brent.
on the kids, so.
Thanks for joining us, and you great diver or whatever you did in the pool.
Yeah,
I'm not
slip.
sure.
You
Just
can
a
call it
jumper
slip.
or something anyway.
Triple Indy.
Thanks, everybody, for watching this edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. Good evening.